You walk past them every single day. They're on the benches, on the ledges, on the sidewalk right in front of you. Dozens of them, sometimes hundreds, just sitting there, doing nothing, eating garbage. And at some point, maybe today, maybe last week, a thought crossed your mind. A thought you probably didn't say out loud. If there are that many of them, why aren't we eating them? It sounds insane, but it's actually one of the most rational questions a human brain can ask. You are wired, deep in your biology, to look at an abundant food source and think, use it. That's not weird. That's survival. That's ancient. That's you. And the fact that you don't eat pigeons, the fact that almost nobody does, is not because it's impossible. It's because of something far stranger happening inside your head. Stay until the end. Because the last part isn't really about pigeons at all. It's about why your brain decides what counts as food. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a menu or a city street the same way again. Let's start with what nobody tells you. Pigeons are not a new food. They are one of the oldest foods in human history. For thousands of years, people didn't just eat pigeons. They farmed them. They built entire towers just to house them. In medieval Europe, a structure called a dovecote was a serious piece of architecture. Big stone buildings, sometimes multiple floors, designed entirely to hold pigeons and harvest them for meat. Only the wealthy were allowed to own them. In France, the right to keep a dovecote was a privilege of the aristocracy. Peasants who killed a lord's pigeon could be punished. That's how valuable they were. In ancient Egypt, pigeons were kept alongside livestock. They appear in tomb paintings. They were part of the food system the same way chickens are today. In the Middle East, squab, which is just a young pigeon, was a luxury dish served at feasts. In Rome, pigeons were fattened in special rooms called peristerotrophia. That's how seriously they took this. So the question isn't whether humans can eat pigeon. We did for millennia. The question is, what happened? Here's where it gets interesting. The pigeon you see today on the street corner is not just any bird. It is the rock dove, Columba livia, one of the first animals ever domesticated by humans, somewhere around 10,000 years ago in the Middle East. 10,000 years. That predates the domestication of cattle. It rivals the earliest dogs. These birds were bred to live near humans, to eat what humans dropped, to navigate home over hundreds of miles using magnetic fields in their beaks. They were used as messengers. They carried letters across battlefields. During World War I, a pigeon named Cher Ami delivered a message that saved nearly 200 American soldiers. It was shot through the chest and still made it. These animals served us for centuries, in war and in peace. And then something shifted. Cities grew. Pigeons followed because they were already adapted to live alongside humans. The same instinct that made them thrive in dovecotes made them thrive on buildings, which mimic the cliffs they originally nested on. But as cities modernized, the way humans related to food changed completely. Food stopped being something you saw, caught, or raised. It became something that appeared in a package, clean, sealed, labeled, with no visible connection to an animal at all. And this is where your brain enters the story. There is a psychological mechanism that researchers call the omnivore's dilemma. It was described by psychologist Paul Rozin in the 1970s and studied extensively since. Here's the problem your brain faces. You are an omnivore. You can eat almost anything, but almost anything also includes things that will kill you. So your brain developed two competing drives. One drive pushes you toward novelty. Try new things, expand your food range. The other drive pulls you toward caution. If you didn't grow up eating it, be suspicious. If it seems out of place, reject it. The technical term for that second drive is neophobia. Food neophobia. Fear of new or unfamiliar foods. And it is extraordinarily powerful. Rozin found that even when people were told a food was safe and edible, if it triggered the wrong associations, they still refused to eat it. In one experiment, subjects were offered perfectly clean fudge that had been shaped to look like dog feces. They knew it was fudge. They still couldn't eat it. The disgust response overrode the rational knowledge. This is what's happening with the pigeon. You don't see pigeon on your plate. You never have. So your brain has filed it in the wrong category. It's not food. It's a city bird. It's a rat with wings. It's dirty. And once that filing is made, almost nothing can undo it. Not logic, not facts, not hunger. But here's what makes this even stranger. The pigeon didn't change. Your relationship with it changed. Think about what a chicken is. A chicken lives in a crowded shed. It stands in its own waste. It eats corn mixed with byproducts. It never sees sunlight. The average city pigeon, by contrast, roams free. It forages. It gets exercise. It's been shown to carry bacteria, yes, but so does every animal humans eat, including the ones in those sheds. A 2010 study published in Meat Science analyzed pigeon meat and found it to be high in protein, low in fat, and nutritionally comparable to other poultry. Chefs who work with Squab consistently describe the meat as rich, dark, and flavorful, far more complex than chicken. It is, by measurable nutritional standards, a good food. But it is a food your brain has decided is not food. And you never made that decision consciously. It was made for you, by culture, by exposure, by what you saw on a plate as a child and what you didn't. This is one of the most underappreciated forces in your life. The foods you love are not the foods that are objectively best. They are the foods that your early environment approved. Psychologist Elisabeth Rozin, working alongside Paul Rozin, identified what she called flavor principles. Each culture, she found, has a core set of flavors that define what food smells and tastes like. French food, Japanese food, Mexican food, they each have a signature. And when food matches that signature, it feels safe. It feels right. When it doesn't, even if it's perfectly nutritious, even if it's delicious, the brain raises an alarm. You don't just dislike it, you feel a kind of revulsion. That revulsion is not rational. It is a cultural artifact, a program written into you before you were old enough to have a say. Now ask yourself how many other decisions in your life follow the same pattern. Not just food. What jobs feel respectable? What relationships feel normal? What risks feel acceptable? Your brain is running the same approval system, constantly, on almost everything. The pigeon is just the version that's easy to see, because the bird is literally right there on the pavement and your brain still says no. But let's go one layer deeper, because the pigeon story has a dark twist that almost nobody knows about. In North America, there was once a pigeon that existed in numbers almost impossible to comprehend. The passenger pigeon. At its peak, the passenger pigeon was the most numerous bird on Earth. Flocks were documented that stretched over a mile wide and 300 miles long. They took hours to pass overhead. When they landed, they broke tree branches with their weight. Naturalist John James Audubon witnessed a flock in Kentucky in 1813 and described the sky going dark for 3 days. 3 days. There were an estimated 3 to 5 billion of them, and people ate them. Constantly, commercially, in massive quantities. They were cheap. They were abundant. Hunters would kill them by the wagon load and ship them to city markets packed in salt. And then, within a single human lifetime, they were gone. The last passenger pigeon, a female named Martha, died alone in the Cincinnati Zoo on September 1st, 1914. 3 to 5 billion birds. Gone in roughly 50 years, hunted to extinction, not because people were evil, but because the supply felt infinite. This is relevant to you right now. The passenger pigeon felt exactly the way the city pigeon feels today. Everywhere. Endless. Background noise of the environment. And that feeling, that sense of infinite abundance, is one of the most dangerous cognitive illusions your brain produces. When something is everywhere, your brain stops perceiving it as a resource. It becomes wallpaper. The same way you stop hearing the air conditioning. The same way you stop noticing the paint on your walls. The pigeons are there. Your brain has decided they are not relevant, and so they vanish. What's fascinating is that some places never got that memo. In France, Squab is still a classic. It appears on the menus of Michelin-starred restaurants. Chefs roast it, They sear it. They make it the centerpiece of the plate. In Morocco, a pastry called pastilla is made with pigeon meat, spiced and wrapped in layers of thin dough. It is considered a dish for celebrations. In China, pigeon has been part of the cuisine for centuries. Cantonese-style roasted pigeon is a delicacy. The birds are marinated, lacquered, and served whole. In all of these places, the cultural program just ran differently. The bird ended up on the plate instead of on the sidewalk, and so the brain processes it as food. It's the same bird, different brain program, and here's the part you need to sit with for a second. You didn't write your brain program, you absorbed it. From your parents, your neighborhood, your school cafeteria, the restaurants that existed near you growing up, the animals that appeared in your cartoons as cute versus the ones that appeared as food. Chickens don't appear as cute in childhood media the same way pigeons do. Think about that. Think about every cooing pigeon in a movie, every city scene with pigeons as texture, as atmosphere. The pigeon was cast as scenery, as something decorating the world, not as something entering your body. That casting decision, made by culture, repeated millions of times across decades, is why you don't eat pigeon. Not because of the bird, because of the story. And this works in the other direction too. Lobster was once considered the chicken of the sea, in the worst possible way. In colonial America, lobster was so abundant and so looked down upon that servants reportedly demanded contracts limiting how often they could be fed it. It was fish for the poor, bottom feeder, trash. The same lobster that today costs $60 on a restaurant menu. One cultural reframe, one shift in story, and the food transformed. The pigeon hasn't had its reframe yet. Or maybe it has started. In recent years, a small but serious conversation has been happening among chefs and food writers. Could urban pigeons be harvested sustainably? Could they solve two problems at once, overpopulation and food waste, by becoming a food source? The barriers are real. Regulation, public disgust, the uncertainty about what urban pigeons have been eating, but they are not biological barriers. They are not nutritional barriers. They are psychological barriers. They are entirely a story. And here's the part that should stay with you long after this video ends. Everything you eat and everything you refuse to eat is a negotiation between biology and culture. Your biology says if it has calories and won't kill you, it's food. Your culture says, but only if it fits the shape of food as we've defined it. And you, mostly, don't notice this negotiation happening. You just feel like some things are food and some things aren't. You feel like it's obvious, but it's not obvious. It's constructed. The pigeon on the ledge isn't too dirty to eat. It isn't biologically forbidden. It isn't nutritionally inferior. It just happened to end up on the wrong side of a line your culture drew, quietly, gradually, long before you were born. And the same invisible line exists around countless other things in your life. Decisions that feel like common sense. Preferences that feel like personality. Choices that feel like yours. Many of them are just the program running. The question, the one that's genuinely worth asking in a quiet moment, is how many of the walls around your life are made of stone, and how many are made of pigeons?